employee or independent contractor? Which classification is correct? The importance of correctly classifying a worker has to do with legal compliance, tax obligation, benefits and protections, business liability, and reputation and employee morale. Legal compliance is important because misclassifying a worker can violate the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, IRS regulations, and state employment laws that impose specific rules for employees that do not apply to contractors. Agencies like the IRS, Department of Labor, and state tax agencies can investigate if they suspect misclassification. Benjamin Franklin once said, "The only certainty is death and taxes." Therefore, it is easy to conclude that tax obligations are a top priority for businesses. For the employee, it is important because the employer must withhold income tax, Social Security, Medicare, and pay unemployment taxes. For the contractor, it is completely different, and the contractor is the one who must handle their own taxes. However, the business must issue a 1099 form. If a business misclassifies an employee as a contractor, they may owe back taxes, interest, and fines. Benefits and protections are important to a business because employees are entitled to minimum wage and overtime, unemployment benefits, workers' compensation, family and medical leave, and health insurance if applicable under ACA. On the other hand, independent contractors are not entitled to the same thing as employees. However, misclassifying a worker as a contractor when they're actually an employee could get your business sued, and you will be entitled to pay back benefits and back pay. Misclassifying an employee can lead to business liability. For instance, if an employee causes harm in the course of their job duty, the business is generally liable. However, with a contractor, liability is often limited to the contractor unless there's negligence in hiring or supervision. Misclassifying can blur these lines and increase legal risk. Misclassifying a worker could result in reputation and employee morale degrading. Workers who feel they are misclassified may become disgruntled, quit, or take legal action. In addition, ethical business practices improve morale and public trust. How to determine if a worker is an employee or independent contractor. There are several tests to determine whether an individual should be classified as an employee or an independent contractor. Three of the main tests are the Barillo test factor used in California, the ABC criteria test, and the IRS 20-factor test. The Barillo test was established in 1989 by the California Supreme Court in Barillo and Sons versus Department of Industrial Relationship as a method for determining worker classification as employee or contractor, in particular to exempt occupations such as licensed professionals, doctors, lawyers, accountants, real estate licensees, certain licensed healthcare professionals, direct salespersons, commercial fishermen, and others performing work under contract for professional services with another business entity or pursuant to a subcontract in the construction industry. The primary factor is whether the hiring entity has the right to control the manner and means of accomplishing the desired results. This control need not be direct, detailed, or actually exercised. Other factors, as you can see, are the right to control how work is done, company invests in equipment, opportunity for profit and loss, length and permanency of work, work is part of regular work, special skills required, payment of by time versus project, belief of parties, distinct occupation or business, and level of supervision. On one side we have EE factors, which are employee factors. On the other side, we have independent contract factors. If all the boxes are checked on the EE factor, there's a good chance that they should be classified as an employee. If they're all checked on the other side, there's a good chance they should be classified as an independent contractor. I say that only because you must take the totality of the circumstances before making a decision. Now let's move on and check out another test called the ABC Mini. The next test we have is called the ABC test criteria. I refer to it as the Mini. It's based on 3 criteria. The first criteria is the worker free from the control and direction of the hiring entity in connection with the performance of the work, both under the contract and in fact? A yes tends to indicate that they're independent contractor. No tends to indicate employee. B, the worker performs the work that is outside the usual course of the hiring entity business. Again, yes indicates contractor, no indicates employee. C, the worker is customarily engaged in an independent established trade, occupation, or business of the same nature as the work performed. Again, yes independent contractor, no employee. This is the IRS 20 factor. As you can see, it's 20 factors or 20 questions broken up into 3 categories. Category A deals with behavioral control, Category B deals with financial control, and Category C deals with relationship type. It's important to note that no single factor is decisive. The entire relationship must be examined, and the classification depends on the totality of the circumstances, with no's indicating independent contractor status. Question: are your workers properly classified? If you want to find out, let's move on to the next step. The next step: call us for a free consultation at 415-802-7505, or you can send me an email. I'm waiting to hear from you.